Today, I want you guys to imagine with me, just for a moment. Imagine that you're taking that vacation that you've wanted for a long time. You looked up tickets for planes, you looked up what's the best trip to take, and you decide a getaway into the southwestern United States is perfect for you. You're going to go out into the desert, into the brush, you're going to get a cabin overlooking a ravine, and it's going to be beautiful. Just you, maybe you and your dog are out there. You're noticing the natural beauty, you're really taken away by it. You're just standing out in front of your cabin like, what am I going to do the next few days? You're making your plans. Tomorrow you're going to go hiking. The day after that, maybe you're going to go shoot some guns. Maybe you're going to do a little hunting. Maybe you're just going to read a book in the sun. You're going to sunbathe in the desert like a weirdo. You retire to your cabin. You and your dog go inside. You're getting ready for bed and you start to feel uneasy. You really don't have any reason to feel uneasy. You've been relaxed so far. But you have this weird feeling of dread. You kind of shrug it off. And you lay down. You're laying in bed. And your dog starts to growl. Your dog runs to the door of the cabin, growling, growling, growling. You're still in bed. You think maybe it's a bear. Maybe it's some other wild animal. And that's when you hear tapping at the window right behind you that overlooks your bed. You're really afraid to turn around. You don't want to. You don't want to look. No animals tap on windows like that. What if it's a person? Finally, you muster up the courage. You look behind you, and what looks to be a coyote with a human face is staring back at you. That's right, guys. Today we're going to talk about skinwalkers. Skinwalkers are obviously really only native to one region of the United States. However, a lot of misinformation is on the internet because the people that know the most about skinwalkers are the least likely to talk about them. Navajo elders will not utter a word about the skinwalker for fear of bringing them upon their tribe. The younger Navajos don't talk about it because they're afraid the elders are going to beat their ass. Understandable. So, I want to dispel a few myths about a myth. And that is that the skinwalker is any more than it is. Skinwalker in Navajo legend is called the Yi Nadalushi. Yi Nadushi. Nadushi. Douchey. That's because you have to be a major douchebag to become a skinwalker. The only way in Navajo legend to become a skinwalker is to use black magic, a black magic ritual, in which it involves killing someone who's very close to you, such as your mother, your brother, your daughter. And that's the only real way to do it, is you have to break every Navajo law in one night. Every tribal law you break in one night. Murder, killing animals for no reason other than to gain power and then wearing their fur, and breaking the sacred vows that most Navajos take, which is to serve the tribe in the best way that you can. And what you're doing here with this ritual is all for selfish gain. What happens with a skinwalker is he or she, it doesn't ever specify whether or not it's more of a male thing or a female thing, but we can kind of assume it's more of a male thing because generally the skinwalker is assumed to be a person who is already indoctrinated into the tribal rites of shamanism or priesthood, if you want to call it that, which is usually kind of a male position, but there are females who get to do it too. So either way, I would assume you have like a 60-40 chance of your skinwalker being male or female. They break these rules. They decide to go to the dark side of Navahodom, and they become a servant of evil. And in a way, it becomes more disturbing than witches of European folklore, or werewolves, or vampires, because unlike their European counterparts, the Navajo seeks not only to do evil for the sake of evil, but part of that evil is destroying the Navajo way of life, destroying the Navajo tribe, just getting rid of everything that they once loved. That is something that is, in my opinion, so disturbing, so evil that I can't think of anything else that is worse, honestly. You have witches in Europe that make deals with the devil and want to hurt people, okay, that's bad, but she's not out to destroy all of the UK or all of France. The werewolf isn't out to destroy all of Romania or all of wherever he happens to be. The vampire is ultimately selfish and is just out for, to have fun, really. He's not really seeking to end the world unless you want to get into some other deeper stuff, but that's besides the point. So that's what is ultimately what a skinwalker is at the end of the day. It's someone who used black magic. They're still human. They still have their own thoughts, but they've become a servant to evil. What happens online, because it's so hard to find information about the skinwalkers, they're so enigmatic and so I don't know, unnerving, the thought of them, that people ascribe worse traits to them. And I don't know how you can get much worse than wanting to destroy an entire culture that you were once part of, but anyway, they want to make them scarier. So people bring in elements of the Wendigo. People bring in elements of the Goat Man. I've even seen stuff that I'm like, no. That's from like Celtic lore where it's almost fairy-like qualities, like spirits of the forest. It's not. The Skinwalker is just a selfish Night-a-douche that lives in the woods or in the scrubland or in the desert that is just out to do nothing but bad things. A lot of things that I've seen also is that people like to say that the Skinwalker is almost it's almost like an animal in and of itself, which is untrue because it keeps all of its intelligence, all of its memories, but that it's like Predator from the movie Predator. It parrots back to you what you last said or what someone else said before you, like its last victim. It'll use their voice to attract you to it. The Skinwalker can already talk. It doesn't have to do that. It already speaks Navajo or English. It can cry, it can make noise, it can do all that to attract you into its clutches. So there's no real need for it to do that. What the Skinwalker does do, and this is a story I read a while back, and I remember it because it was actually kind of disturbing, because if this happened to me, I would probably find a bridge and jump off it. There was a white guy, driving somewhere through Arizona, and he picked up a hitchhiker, and he just assumed it was an elderly person that was in need of help. And he knew he was in Navajo territory, so he thought maybe, even though I don't see anything around here, to me there's no civilization around, maybe they have a house somewhere close. Maybe I'm on the reservation, don't know it. So he picks up this elderly person, puts him in the back of his car, and starts asking him, where are you heading? Where can I take you? Are you okay? Each time he asks him a question, person in the back seat doesn't say a word. The driver begins to assume maybe they don't speak English. We're close to Mexico. Maybe they're Spanish. Maybe they're Mexican. Maybe they don't speak English. Maybe they're Navajo and they don't speak English either. I don't know. I'm from New York. I don't know if he was really from New York, but... So he's got this person in the back of the car, and he finally gives up on conversation. So he kind of mumbles to him, hey, I'm driving to this town. I will take you up to this town and let you out at a gas station. We'll call you some help. Whatever you need to do. Maybe I can get you committed to a psychiatric ward if need be. We'll figure that out when we get there. But you're going to drive with me to this town. It's going to be cool. Person in the back seat stays silent. Not saying a word. In the rearview mirror, the driver begins to notice the person is shifting. And what he means by that, I assume, is that the person was scooting from side to side in the back seat. But he said it would happen so quick that it was almost like they were teleporting from the driver's side to the passenger side, to driver's side, passenger side. And finally, he looked back, and the person was sitting in the middle seat, full view of the rearview mirror. And as he was looking at him, and he thought about, maybe I'll try to talk to him one more time, the mysterious passenger's eyes began to glow. Then he was met with a horrible screeching noise that emitted from the person's mouth, like a human screaming in pain, and what he kind of described as a sort of like a bird being tortured. Sounded like a raven cawing and a person mixed together. To me, that is terrifying. If I heard that, I would have just crashed my car. This guy didn't. He tried to keep on going, but he blacks out. And he wakes up the next day, the sun's high, it's at least noon, and his car is broke down on the side of the road. He ran off the road into a ditch, and his car's got steam coming out of it. Well, No trace of the mysterious passenger that he picked up, trying to be a good person. All gone. And that's more the type of story that you hear. You don't hear about people in the woods hearing something calling to them in their friend's voice. You don't hear stories about a child crying and somebody going to investigate and getting got. It's more of the Skinwalker is already human. It already knows how to prey out upon the kindness of others. It's even easier to prey upon the kindness of people that don't know what they're dealing with. People from outside of the Navajo reservation. People from outside of Arizona just driving through. You're on your way to Vegas. Maybe you shouldn't stop if you see anybody on the side of the road at night. In the daytime, maybe you should. But at night, I just drive on through. Some other things that I found out about the Ye Na douche, because you have to be a douche to be a Skinwalker, is that they can also possess people, which is an odd thing to think about, because how do you possess somebody even though you're in your own body still? Maybe it's a form of astral projection that they're using. There's stories of Navajo children being possessed by a Skinwalker and doing crazy, crazy things, like drowning their friends at the local, swimming hole. I've read a story like that. And to me, that is, I don't know. To me, that's the most bizarre yet evil thing I've really read. I'm not too sure about it. I don't know what to make of the Skinwalker, honestly. All I do know now, after reading a little bit more about it, instead of coming here and bullshitting you guys, is it is a black magician or a witch, usually male, decides to break every rule in the book for selfish gain, and ends up being consumed by evil. Yet, we have to add on, and not only are they consumed by evil, they wish to destroy the foundation of their own society. Pretty heavy stuff, I think. I'm letting this run a little bit shorter than I wanted it to. The issue is that I can't make a 30-minute episode about Skinwalkers unless I just went around and found a bunch of different stories for you, but I don't feel like adding in a bunch of extra stories to a video that's supposed to just be about Skinwalker myth and legend. It's just so hard to find actual information on it that is accurate. My sources were a Navajo website run by Navajos for Navajos. I used that. I used Wikipedia shamelessly, but that's where I found the websites that were actual Navajo websites giving descriptions of their creation myth, their religion, their this, that, and the other. And it included a relatively short, compared to all the other stuff that they were willing to go on for pages and pages talking about, gave me a 3-paragraph entry on the Skinwalker, and that was the best I could find. If you go online and you're asking for stuff, just be careful, because what people are going to do is they're going to make up more than they actually know, and that's in a weird sort of way to, I don't know, I guess make heads or tails of something that's actually pretty damn scary, but very misunderstood. They'll add in Wendigo. As I said, they'll add in Wendigo myths. They'll add in this, Goatman myths. What you gotta keep in mind is that at the end of the day, Skinwalker is just a bad, bad person. And maybe you just need to give them a little bit of wiggle room. And by wiggle room, I mean drive really fast through Arizona and New Mexico, for sure.